Hey everybody, my name is Caleb Stanley. Welcome back to another YouTube video, or video in general. Today we're going to be talking about some of my favorite features on the Sony FX30. So let's dive in right into the video. I just jacked that sentence all up, but whatever. So for those of you who know me or watch my channel, y'all would know that I am a proud owner and filmmaker and user of the Sony FX30. I love this camera. It is an amazing camera. It does so much, and these are some of my favorite things that the Sony FX30 can perform that a lot of other cameras that they compare it to don't have. Starting off with the first thing, which is probably one of my most favorite, is the fact that this shoots in S-Log3 or S-Log3 Cine, or S-Log3.Cine, sorry. I love S-Log3.Cine because it is so fun to color grade images. And color grading is probably one of my favorite things to do in post-production because I get to change the image of my video. There's just so much that color grading can do, and I love it so much. And this Sony FX30 makes it so easy and amazing for you to color grade your images, so you don't have to worry about the image quality. All you have to do is expose right and shoot an S-Log3 or whatever type of S-Log3 you want, and your image will look fantastic. Okay, number two, I know I've talked a lot about this, but number two is audio. The Sony FX30 pairs very well with the DJI Mic 2s, which I currently own, which is also hooked up to this lavalier mic that I'm talking into. The Sony FX30 is listed on one of the recommended cameras for the DJI Mic 2s. So I can just go to the recommended audio that's suggested on the DJI Mic 2s and pair it with my Sony FX30, and it sounds really good. You're listening to it right now, and I just really like that because no matter if I'm using the mics for movies or whatever I'm filming or anything else. Now, I know there might be a lot of people in the comments being like, bro, you're like 5 years old, you ain't making no movies anytime soon, and I just mean family movies and short films or YouTube videos that I'm posting here. I am young, but I am trying to start everything super quickly because this is genuinely my dream, is to just film and just be involved in cinematography, videography, and it's just genuinely my dream, and I want to share, you know, kind of me getting into it at a young age. So, yeah. So the next thing is something that's very helpful that a lot of cameras I wish that were a little bit cheaper had, and a lot of APS-C censored or 35 Super 35 cameras do not have, is I think it's in-body stabilization, which means that the cameras like the Sony ZV-E10 or even the Sony ZV-E10 Mark II, or I don't know if the Sony a6700 has it, I would think, but maybe not, they don't have in-body stabilization. The stabilization on this thing is genuinely amazing. I mean, when I had it off and I turned it off for some reason, like I really saw the camera like shaking, and I didn't like that, and it reminded me of my old camera. Well, then I turned on the stabilization to standard, and literally with just standard, the video was smooth as can be. I mean, again, this is like standard, so this isn't even the active stabilization. This is just like no crop whatsoever, just sort of helps it, and it did more than I needed it to do. Now, I do recommend going to active if you're filming sports, like I do for my brother's baseball team sometimes, or just a scene from a whatever. If you need to have an action-packed scene, I recommend going to active just to make sure that in post-production you're not like, dang, that could be a little bit more smooth. But with what I do and the shots that I get and what I film, standard stabilization is amazing, and the stabilization built into this camera is wonderful. No complaints whatsoever. Okay, so my next thing isn't necessarily about the camera, but it is about the lens, and that is actually that my lens has optical steady shot, I think is what it's called. Hold on, I got that right. It has optical steady shot, or otherwise known as OSS, which actually means that not only will your camera have stabilization, but the lens has extra stabilization, which makes your film and everything else so much better. And again, that just makes it easier for me. And again, this lens is a Sony lens, so therefore it pairs with the Sony FX30 pretty well. Another cool feature that I really like about the Sony FX30 is that no matter what time of day, it's visible, but you have recording light indicators. So if you're recording, then there's lights throughout the camera that light up that indicates when you are and when you're not recording. And I really like that, because if you are in a, or in my case, if you're in a church environment and you want to get some good shots, but you really don't want that sound of the Sony record and stop recording sound, if you know what I'm talking about, you know. But if you really don't want that sound, you can turn it off, but the recording indicator lights up, so I always know when I'm recording, and there's so many of these that let you know that you're recording. I love it, and it makes it seem even more cinematic and like a cinema camera. Something really cool that this camera offers, which I love, is I've had a chance to use it once or twice, but I haven't gotten into it too much yet, but it's still a really cool feature, is that you can put built-in LUTs from your editing softwares to the camera to either view or just go ahead and film in when you're filming. I do think it's more reliable to just do it in post-production so that you just, you know, have the LUT you want. But if you find this setting even more useful, I would consider doing it, because it is a fantastic setting. I love it very much. Okay, one of my favorite things about this camera, and I love that I got it, is the fact that this camera has a built-in fan. So no matter how hot it is outside when you're recording, how much you're recording, or how much your battery, whatever, anything, is that this camera doesn't overheat because it has a built-in fan. And I think that that's really nice, being that I don't have to worry about, you know, cooling my camera off in the car, or not using it as much, or having to buy a separate fan that I have to buy for the camera. It just comes in with the camera, and I think that that is extremely cool, extremely nice, and something that I love about the Sony FX30. Another thing I love about the Sony FX30, upon all the other things I've been mentioning, which is a lot, is the fact that this camera shoots in 4K 120, 4K 30, 4K 24, 4K whatever, you name it. It shoots in 4K pretty much any FPS, and it does a great job. The only what I'm trying to say is don't record in 120 FPS, because that is going to make your footage look extremely grainy, unless you're in really bright conditions. But still, I tend to record in 4K 24, but I would not record in 4K 120. Personal preference, but it's still, 4K is very amazing on this camera, and it does a great job and offers a lot of variety for whatever you're filming, and I think that that's super amazing, and I just love that. And again, upon a whole bunch of other stuff, this camera has shutter angle, it has, of course, you know, your zebra display, your grid display, just everything that makes it just so cinematic. And I know that a lot of cameras have that, but the Sony FX30 does a really good job with all of these things. And I love that we have shutter angle, which is really good for video, so I am a huge fan of shutter angle upon a whole bunch of other things. I know in my last video I kind of did the same type of thing, but I was kind of comparing the Sony FX30 to the FX3 and other cameras, and why it's somewhat superior over them, personal preference. But in this video, I was just going over some features that I do like about the Sony FX30, because this is the camera that I have saved up for and made sure I had enough money for, because I love this camera. It does a great job at what it does, and for the price of, actually right now, sadly, prices are going up, Amazon's going up, this camera's getting more popular. Sorry, bugs are flying around by the minute, but it's now around $2,000, but it's still available on other websites for new, like brand new condition, for around $1,600 to $1,700. I got mine for about $1,600, and I'm super glad, because this camera is amazing. Honestly, it genuinely performs like a full frame camera. Besides that, the low light performance is not the total best. But besides the low light performance not being the best in the world, this camera genuinely performs like a full frame camera, and it does a great job at everything. This camera is just amazing, and I love it, and a whole bunch of other people do too. Again, my video might not be the most reliable, but go watch other people's videos about different features that I've left out, because I know there are a lot, but I just can't think of them at the top of my head, because there are so many. I'm not kidding you on that. And if you want to get into videography or cinematography, and you want a camera that's really nice and upgrade to what you have, but still a good camera to get you started in professional business, I would recommend this camera. It is amazing. It has the same features as its big brother, the Sony FX3, but for half the price, and the only thing that it differs from is basically being Super 35, which means it's a crop censored camera, which means it is not full frame, and the fact that because it's a Super 35, the low light performance isn't the best in the entire world, but I'll tell you what, it's worth it if it's half the price. So that's it for today's video. I want to thank you all so much for watching my video, giving my channel a chance. Thank you so much for just watching till the end. And if you want to help me out, just please like and subscribe to this channel. Like this video, subscribe, and I will see you all in the next video. Goodbye, everybody.